Welcome to Volume 11 Rock Talk Podcast, brought to you by Volume 11 Music. Your hosts, Rich Hoffa, Rik Lawhorne, and Mark Dunn. Rock Talk, Volume 11 Music.
Hey, how's it going? And welcome to Rock Talk at Volume 11 Music in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Want to thank you guys for watching us. We're at 25th. This is our 25th episode, isn't it?
Yes.
25th.
25.
Episode
Episode
we
25.
hit a little milestone
We
there.
haven't been canceled yet.
25 episodes. So if you're enjoying the content, please give us a like. Make sure you subscribe and share so we can bring more people into the Volume 11 Rock Talk podcast family. So this week we're going to talk about radio and whether it had an impact on different bands or how it pushed them or not pushed them, and the difference between back in the day radio type of stuff and today's what's going on with radio today, because there's so many different avenues and things. But I'll let you guys kick it off.
Okay, I guess I'll throw out the first round here. So for me, I do agree. As a young kid discovering rock music, radio about late 70s, early 80s, 79, 80, 81. That was definitely a big way to discover different bands. I knew a few bands, I had friends and all that, but you would turn on the radio and hear a song, just something that I think back, like probably about 1982, I guess it was 82, I heard Night Ranger for the first time, Don't Tell Me You Love Me, with this amazing dual guitar in the middle of it, Jeff Watson and Brad Gillis. I just blew my mind. I just this is incredible. And so that was something I discovered on the radio, and I went out as soon as I could and bought that record, and I really enjoyed the guitar playing from both of them. I mean, fine album, fine band. And we've talked before about bands we love, Van Halen, when I was going to them, AC/DC. As a young kid, didn't know a whole lot about them, and radio broke a lot. You'd hear them on the radio. You'd hear, brand new AC/DC, Back in Black, or all those Van Halen songs, Dance the Night Away off the second album. It's a single. So as a young kid, got me excited about it. And then from there, okay, I'm definitely going to buy this album. And then playing guitar, I'm definitely going to try to learn these riffs on guitar. So for me, that was kind of my roots with it anyway. So from a rock perspective.
Well, there was a reason that we also listened to radio beyond just the songs. And radio having its the type of station has its format. So you had country radio, you had classic radio, classic hits, oldies.
Oldies, I remember that. The oldies station.
Yeah, and then you'd have jazz, you'd have classical, like the NPR station or PBS station. But the thing that would draw you to an allegiance to a station would often be the disc jockeys themselves.
Right. Yes.
And they were like the verifiable first influencers on to the masses. And some of them we're talking terrestrial radio now, not satellite radio. I mean local radio stations. Yeah. So before even having syndication, meaning where a radio station would be broadcast around the country, it was just regional or local. Yeah. And, you had a few disc jockeys that were funny personalities that became national. Wolfman Jack, Rick Dees, guys like that back when we were all kids.
Yeah, I remember that.
But the personalities would, especially for rock stations or things like that, made you want to listen to the radio because it made you a part of that hang. Mm-hmm. Right. And then also, before any of us were making any money, our first playlists were cassette tapes. In the thing, and we're waiting because we think they're going to play the new AC/DC song after the 5 o'clock break.
There with your finger on the pause button, waiting.
Yeah. So the entertainment value was really immersive in that it was such a process. And now you just drastically compare that with
the phone.
And it's you can make your playlist digitally. Yeah. And that's cool. I mean, but it is a little bit more sterile. And I think when it comes to new music, which is how we discover new music, the quantity of music that's being uploaded to the platforms on a daily basis is unimaginable. But that needle in the haystack kind of thing is really what we have now.
Right.
It's just, there's nobody selling it to us.
Right.
Yeah.
You got to hear about it from our students that come in.
Yeah, we do. A lot of
It's
times.
like, a friend of mine was on a playlist or it was a suggested thing. I'm like, and you would never, ever hear it.
Yeah. Well, I think that, I think movies really did a good job of it, because if you watch some of the old movies like American Graffiti,
Right, I remember
and
that,
with Wolfman Jack, and
Wolfman
you've got
FM?
FM.
The movie FM?
Yeah.
That was about the radio.
About the radio.
Well, even that, like Back to the Future. I mean, he's doing that in the the guitar player with the hurt hand gets up there and he's like, "Hey, Carl," he's like, "This is what you're looking for," and and that's kind of, I mean, they were putting out a 45 and then running around to record stations to try to get them to play it, and you're doing the legwork yourself, and I remember from my background, we moved when I started really getting into music. I used to listen to my dad's reel-to-reels of his band and all that stuff, and of course my parents' records, because they were all 50 stuff and Chuck Berry and Little Richard and all that. But we lived out out in the country, so I couldn't even pick up a radio station. So trying to find a radio station that wasn't AM or country or something like that,
like
or
a
talk
third
radio.
of one and 2/3 of another one.
They'd
fight over that spot on the dial.
Occasionally, if the weather was a certain way, you pick up DC 101 or somebody like that, and then you get whatever they wanted to play. But I'm from Northern Ohio, so I'd go up to Ohio, and my cousin would make all these tapes, all this great music, because they had WMMS radio out of Cleveland, and they played all kinds of
these cool little songs.
They kept all kinds of really cool. They played all kinds of really cool records. So I used to go up there, and I remember, getting a stereo for Christmas. We'd go up there for Christmas, and I was sitting in there in a bedroom, and I've got just what Mark was saying. I'm sitting there with my cassette, and I'm sitting there, got it set up with pause, and I'm ready to hear all these songs, and I think I still have some of those.
Some of the tapes,
that I made.
New Loverboy songs.
First playlists. They were the first playlists.
They were. Yeah.
But I think back then too. I think I think radio had much more. And what we're kind of going with the conversation is, I think radio really had a big place in how an artist was projected to people. If you weren't played on the radio, you probably weren't going very far. And then of course that started to change as years go on, and things like that.
I think we spoke about this a little bit in one of the earlier episodes about how how demarcated the United States was in different sections with different types of music. Because those radio stations appealed to different things because they were programmed locally, and we're an ethnic whirlpool of all sorts of music, even when we were kids, from all over the world. So what you were hearing in Miami was not what you were hearing in Virginia.
No, definitely
and
different
so,
thing.
that kind of homogenization of all of the styles really took place in the late 90s. We would have never had knowledge of so much music had it not been for satellite radio to come online. And then, of course, the internet.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things we're getting exposed to new because we listen to I can't even remember the last time I listened to regular radio. Well, actually, I think I was on a business trip a couple months ago. I had to listen to regular radio, but it was driving through mountains and stuff, and just nonstop trying to find channels because you only listen to it for 5 minutes and it's gone.
It's gone. You gotta figure
but
out
I think with that's the thing with satellite. You can dial in what you want to listen to. I only want to listen to 70s or 60s, and I only want to listen to hair metal, or I only want to listen to metal, or whatever, and it doesn't give you a mixture of
or I only want to listen to the Elvis channel.
That's right.
Yeah. Whoever's channel
Thank you
it
very
is.
much.
That's right. That's right.
And what about also how I always think back at Kiss, their story, how they get their song played on a radio station in Detroit back in 1975, and that radio station in Detroit really kind of helped them explode. I mean, they already were touring, and everybody knew about the makeup and all, but that just put them over the edge. Or the story about Rush, that was
in Cleveland.
Cleveland. It was a Cleveland station, and it played Rush. Hey, Rush, there's a band out of Canada. All of a sudden, I don't know, does that happen anymore? I don't know if
the last time I can think that happened that we know of is Collective Soul Florida.
Yeah.
It was the station in Florida for Shine.
Played a lot of
Shine.
when that first hit, and then caught on, of course.
And they got out that they were the station that did that, and that was a dumb move on the station's part because they got just inundated with and it's interesting. I mean, I was mentioning to you guys, I used to do a part-time disc jockeying thing in the 90s, and I got out of it because I figured I realized I wanted to be played on the radio. I didn't want to do the playing. But I had a regional music show. And I did it for a couple of years actually, and it was every Sunday, 5 o'clock, and I would pre-record it, and sometimes I'd have the artist in. Had some cool ones, come in or do phone interviews, and the impact that and just little old me. Yeah, I mean, I just had the show, narrated the show, full, musicians, so swimming in those waters. Talk to talk, not somebody that doesn't play that's interviewing a musician. Yeah. But anyway, the impact that it had for some of those artists that I had on in the region. I mean, they told me directly, like the next week, they had more people coming and to their shows or saying that they heard them on my regional radio show about regional bands, and I'm like, dang! I mean, that was interesting. That was probably 94, 95, so 30 years ago, when I was just a wee lad. But 30 years ago, and a weekly show for an hour on a Sunday made that kind of an impact for regional bands that were getting that kind of press that they normally didn't get. 100. I mean, it's not radio, but 120 minutes on MTV.
Oh, MTV,
right.
Sunday nights at 10 or 11.
Yeah, they did a lot of the alternative rock.
Yeah,
kind of pushing into that.
So it's the same type of thing on a smaller level. Yeah. But terrestrial radio had that. If that little thing did for those acts that came onto my show that much for a good portion of them, then that's how important it was for anyone that got on. Well before MTV. We didn't have MTV when Zeppelin came out.
Right.
So it was all radio. It was up to them.
So do you think it's got that much of an impact in today's market?
I think it still does. I mean, I've done a number of radio tours with artists that are hitting it out in Nashville. Yeah. And, if they don't sing or if they don't play guitar or they play a little bit of guitar, but they want some of their accompaniment, I've been that guy for a number of artists. And the end station appearances are still a grassroots, real, local, organic way to promote music, because I would tell you that it's even more important to do that now because of the inundation of the platforms. Right. If you've got a budget and somebody wants to, record labels are not as important as they used to be, but in different ways are more important. Yeah. So if you have a budget to get a song on the radio and you can get that song added officially to a terrestrial radio station in say 10 or 15 markets or 5 markets, other markets will pick it up, and that's still going to drive that
carries over.
Taylor Swift is the prime example for modern time. She started on terrestrial radio. She worked her butt off. She is personable. She went to every freaking radio station in the United States, and look at her now. So and artists are still doing that. You just have to be able to get on those planes, and it's just a crazy schedule. I mean, it's nuts, but get on the planes, fly in, go to the radio station, do a performance. There was one that we did what's the guy's Buck Owens radio station in Bakersfield. I was with Colton James, and the room was about as long as the store, and the table was about that long. Yeah. And when we went in, we were at one end of the table playing a song without any amplification, and everybody's sitting at the other end. But it was in the radio station appearance. Yeah. So it still happens. It's still necessary, I think. Not as much as rock, though. I mean, not in rock. Right. More country.
Country. You're right, because the country, I agree 100%. Rock, I think once upon a time, it was more of a thing, but now we don't hear as much of that.
Yeah. And the rock guys, still is more personality-driven. Yeah. And they're not going to set up and do their thing like a country artist. I'm not saying they can't. Right. But a country song, 9 times out of 10, is going to be written on the acoustic, so that can convey. Right. Yeah. So it's just a different animal. Yeah.
And I think in the areas, I mean, I could be wrong, but I think that, like artists for country are more, and the people that listen to it are more tuned with what's going on in their local area.
Oh, 100. Radio is local. Yeah. All that syndication wound up iHeartRadio had to liquidate a bunch of stations. Because you can't program for the nation.
No, and that's the one thing I've always learned. I'm extremely well traveled with the different jobs I've had. So that's one of the things that you find out is when you start driving around that when you get outside the city, people really are in tune with what's going on in their local area.
100%.
I mean, I can remember traveling through West Virginia, North Carolina, and stuff like that, and people really get into high school football. I mean, they're really, really into the local high school sports and local colleges and whatever they've got going on, and of course sport and local music and stuff. So I think it's different by area for sure. But I think,
without a doubt,
that's for sure. Because I think Fredericksburg in general, we're such a melting pot and it's such a transient area because people, of course, we've been here for a really long time, but people move in and out of this. Yeah, Mark's new here, so people move in and out of the area because of the government work that it's not many people are setting up roots or have roots here. Of course, we know a lot of people that have lived here all their lives, but a lot of transient people.
Yeah, and we to the transient aspect of it and going around different parts of the country. I remember landing and terrestrial radio still being the main source, and you get off and you'd be driving somewhere, and the radio would come on like, this station is awesome.
Yeah.
They never play this song, whatever. Or if you heard a deep album cut right next to something that's on the top 10, that would be like, oh, God.
I can't believe they played that song.
Yeah, so that's what I mean about how the different regions were differently and uniquely programmed.
Yeah.
And I think some of that's gone with the advent of Cumulus and the iHearts, and I'm not going to speak ill of them, but again, you can't program the nation. Central planning doesn't work.
Right.
That's one of the things I noticed too. Like when I, because of course I'm, a rock guy. I like rock music. So when I was traveling, trying to find a good rock station, but there is, when you start traveling, there's a lot of really good rock stations out there. It's just not here in Fredericksburg. Or Washington D.C.
We were saying earlier before we started recording that we didn't even hear the freaking Guns N' Roses album until they were already on MTV.
Yeah, right.
In Hampton Roads, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, that album had been out for
a while for it to really
years.
catch on,
86, I think it was. 88 is when it just...
And then it really blew up, of course, with the videos.
I mean, and that's also, we're East Coast, and a lot of stuff's coming out of
West
California.
Coast out of that time.
And that's also the promotional aspect of getting a radio station to play it.
Right.
And that was in person. That's somebody taking the artist in there, or what they call a record promoter, which is what payola was back in the day. And now payola's legal. As long as you claim it.
Yeah. Didn't we have a song,
Payola? We did. It was Sweet
You
Nasty.
wrote it. That's right. We did have a song called
many elements of our society. But that'd be a whole
still got that on the Whamma CD.
Whamma CD,
I still have that. That's that's going to wrap up this week's episode of Rock Talk. Again, if you're enjoying the video, please like the video. Hit that subscribe button. We've got a lot of watchers and viewers that are watching the videos but still haven't subscribed, so hit that subscribe button. Where are you guys playing this weekend?
I'll be at the Bearded Monkey, right?
Monkey,
what a cool name. I love it. The Bearded Monkey here in Stafford, Route 17 with Cactus Jack. That's going to be Saturday, February 8th, and that will be from 8:30 till 12:30. So come on out. Yeah. Southern rock, classic rock, a little bit of old country, a lot of new high energy country, fun stuff.
Good deal.
I'm in Atlanta and Tennessee this weekend.
Cool.
As this airs.
That's right. You're taking a little road trip, do some gigging.
Gone like a freight train, gone like yesterday.
All right.
That's it.
And then, so be back in time for the Super Bowl to watch the Chiefs.
All right. Try to do that three-peat.
That's right.
Three-peat going
That'll be something.
Yeah.
That'll be something. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week on Rock Talk. Peace.
This has been an episode of Volume 11 Rock Talk Podcast, brought to you by Volume 11 Music.